Hey guys, it's Equinox, and this is going to be a quick PTR video talking about the new affixes and changes I think that should be made. This is going to be a PTR gameplay footage, 22 freehold. I'm just going to have it playing in the background so you guys can kind of see the affixes, at least two of them. It's going to be entangling and inflicted in this one, so let's get started. Let's talk about entangling. So this one had the most controversy. This is going to be like the one that was like, oh shit, this might have like horrible boss overlaps, and and I think honestly it did kind of ended up being like that. From our PTR testing, it absolutely does overlap with horrible boss mechanics. It comes out every 20 seconds, I want to say, from what I remember. About every 20 seconds if you're constantly in combat, which is absurdly often. Like, it is so often. That's just way too often. It might be 30 seconds, one of the two. It's either every 20 or 30 seconds, but yeah. Even if it's 30, it's still way too often. Like, that's so much time that you're slowed. In a 4-minute boss fight, that's so many slows that it's going to overlap. So I think that's the biggest, like, the affix itself isn't hard to deal with, but the frequency and overlaps that happen with trash and boss mechanics is just way too often. And I think that's the biggest issue with the affix. I think they just need to reduce the frequency to a minute. Actually, no, not a minute. That'd be too little. I'd say about 40 seconds is about the right spot. Yeah, about 40 seconds. I think it's a little bit better than 30. And yeah, I think 40 seconds is about right. It's about what Quaking is, right? About the same. So I think that'd be good. And I think they need to be careful about the boss overlaps. Same thing with Quaking. Once again, it's just affixes like this are always gonna like have horrible overlaps with boss mechanics. And I think that I'm not sure how they solve that. They're gonna have to see specific cases for them to like give it like make sure this like ability can't be procced while the boss mechanic's going out. Same with Quaking. Like Balakar Khan, you can't get Quaking during the grip in, or it just removes it. So yeah. Right now, I think the affix is the best one out of the three new ones. So I think this is okay. It just needs a little bit less frequency. Frequency is going to be a big talking point about the new affixes. So we're going to talk about Afflicted next. Afflicted is basically, so it spawns any amount of spirits. You can spawn like 1 to however many spirits. And it has one of 4 conditions that you need to get rid of it. Within 8 seconds. It is either a poison, disease, or curse dispel, or full healing. Any one of those 4 conditions that are met removes the ghost. So, if you dispel immediately, you can usually get 1 more dispel. From what I've noticed, you can get 1 more dispel before the second one goes off. So, it's not too bad. I think it's a little bit longer than 8 seconds. I think it's like 9 or 10. I don't think they start casting immediately, but yeah. I know you can get 2 dispels in per spawn, and that's good. The issue is they can spawn way too often. So, for an example, like you saw at the very beginning, it spawned 2, and then like 2 seconds later, it spawned 2 more. And that's happened like in our other testing. It spawned 2, then 2, then 2 again, and it's 6 in about an 8-second period, which is not possible to deal with. Like it's extremely hard to deal with. It is possible, but it's very hard and it requires a healer to basically just full focus healing them. And Incorporeal, I'm just going to go segue to that. Incorporeal has the same exact issue. The spawn rate is uncapped. You can get 3 in a pack of 2. You can get 6 in a pack of 4. You can get more than 6. I've seen 8. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, it's too many. It's not, and the issue with Incorporeal is you can't AoE CC them. ROP is not affected, or ROP doesn't work. Leg Sweep, War Stomp, Explosive Trap. Yeah, it's pretty much just single target CCs and interrupt. You can hard CC them, and they aren't broken by AoE, so that's the nice thing. So it's not too bad. But going back to Afflicted, the only issue with the affix is the spawn rate. It's too inconsistent. It's very varied, and I don't get why. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's so random how many spawn, and it's really weird. I've never seen an affix Even explosive, like you pull one mob, one or two mobs, you're expecting like one or two to spawn, right? Afflicted and incorporated, you can just get like 1, 3, fucking 2, so many different combos. Like it's so weird, and I've never seen that. But yeah, that's pretty much the only issue with afflicted is that the spawn rate is just too much. Incorporeal will be easier to deal with, but the spawn rate is again too much. You can't AoE if they kept the spawn rate but allowed AoE CC, it would be fine. It'd be easy to deal with. But as it stands right now, the spawn rate needs at least a rhythm to it. It needs to be like, okay, you pull you pull like 5 mobs, you can expect 2 or 3 to spawn, right? You pull 8 mobs, you can expect 4 to spawn. You pull 2 mobs, you can expect 1 to spawn. Have a rhyme or reason to it. And I think that's the biggest issue with the new affix is there is no rhyme or reason to it. It's just random, and I think that's what's hurting it the most. But yeah, I think overall the idea of the affixes is good, and the implementation, and the conditions needed to meet to to disable the 2 new affixes that had the spawn affixes is good. This frequency is just too high, and yeah, I think that's the only real big issue right now. I think if they tune down the frequency or at least make a rhyme or reason to it, it's good. And if they reduce the frequency of entangling, it'll be good. That's pretty much what it comes down to is just frequency. Now, let's talk about explosive. Explosive is just, it's too much HP. For how often they spawn, if they want this HP to stay the same, they need to reduce the spawn rate. And even if they do that, people are probably just going to ignore them and heal through it at this point. Like, it's just, there's no way for them to make the affix engaging without making it ridiculous. Because if you buff the HP, then your people are just going to ignore them and learn to heal through it, right? If you reduce the spawn rate, it's the same thing that happens. People are just going to ignore it. They're not going to deal with it. Except maybe on bosses. But yeah, during trash, you're pretty much just going to ignore. People already do that now. Like, I play with a Mistweaver sometimes, and we just ignore the explosive orbs during our cooldowns. And I think, like, if you're going to make an affix to where you end up just ignoring it, I don't know if you guys play Prideful Season, but that was pretty much the same thing. Later in High Keys, you would literally just Invis-Pod every Prideful, except in certain scenarios, so it basically made the affix non-existent. I think that's just inherently bad design if your affix is just getting completely ignored. So the issue is how do you fix that? I think it just needs a redesign. It needs to have some incentive to kill it. I know they hate Kiss Curse affixes. I know that's not what they like, but there needs to be a reward for killing it. And I know people are gonna say like the reward is not taking the damage, but it's like if it's easier to just heal it, then the timer on the key becomes easier because you're ignoring the affix instead of harder because you're doing the affix. And another issue is buff the HP a lot, but make them cleavable. So buff the HP more, but make them cleavable. That would put less strain on the timer and would make make it a little easier to deal with them. But again, like, you're just like you're still skating the line of like how efficient is it for me to deal with them, If they gave a damage buff or something, like, or just like you killed them and they did damage to the mobs a little bit, like anything like that, right? It would make the affix more engaging and people would want to engage with it. But as it stands, it's just people aren't going to engage with it. And I think I think it's just the core affix or the core thing of the mechanic is unless they do too much damage, you just don't have to deal with it. And with the reduced spawn rate, you really don't have to deal with it right now, especially in the new dungeons. The trash does not do that much AoE damage. Bosses is another thing. Bosses actually do a lot of AoE damage in the new season. So yeah. Overall, all the new affix reworks, I think the design concepts are a win. I think the implementations are a fail so far, which can be fixed with tuning. I think the concept is good, but the implementation is not good so far. The frequency just needs down on the 3 new ones, and explosive, it just needs like a concept rework. or something to make it engaging. It's just not an engaging affix, and I'm not exactly sure how they're going to deal with that. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the new affixes. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Sorry for cursing there a little bit. Didn't just kind of have it sometimes when I'm getting into a rant. But yeah, have a wonderful day. Check out the socials. Check out the stream. Peace out. Love you guys very much. See you in season 2.